even factoring in that she's a nice-looking lady. I love it that the libs' attacks on conservatives right now are that we're hot and cool.
Earning a hefty six-figure salary, she is not just the face of the president's second term, she's also the voice promising to...
Let's get into some serious drama that has the media and social media buzzing. In this scenario, a young, capable, and unabashedly bold press secretary enters her first White House briefing and immediately shakes the room. Within days, she is at the center of a media storm that has everyone in the room in a panic. At just 27, Karoline Leavitt entered the spotlight as Donald Trump's new press secretary, and let's just say that things quickly became sticky, especially when The View decided to weigh in with its typical long list of observations.
Just 27 years old, but boy, was she giving it to the Trump haters in her face.
As everyone who has been following The Viewpoint recently knows, they're accustomed to garnering media attention for their provocative opinions, but this time they may have taken on more than they can handle. The turmoil started when Leavitt boldly announced during her first press conference that she would no longer be sponsoring projects related to that. Dubbed wokeness in government organizations, she made it clear that our federal bureaucracy and agencies would no longer receive financing for wokeness and transgenderism. This declaration immediately set the tone for what was to come, and let's just say it didn't sit well with Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar.
Really pissed me off. And that was, she said, there will be no wokeness here. Oh, yeah.
Never one to hold back when voicing her thoughts, went on a full-fledged tirade on their broadcast, accusing Leavitt of lacking comprehension of the notion of wokeness claims.
You might not have that job.
Yeah.
Because women were not...
After reminding the audience that women had historically been barred from positions of power, Whoopi continued with a passionate monologue about how wokeness had helped women break down boundaries. Although some may have interpreted her remarks as a lesson on history, others contested it as an attempt to discredit Litt's credentials and position. But hold on, things get more interesting. In true flair, Joy Behar didn't hold back either, saying something that many are describing as blatantly misogynistic.
She's probably been put in there because according to Donald Trump...
Yeah, you heard correctly. Social media erupted in outrage when Behar reduced Litt's historic appointment to nothing more than her appearance. One viewer summarized Behar's comment perfectly. If a Republican said anything remotely like that, they would be dragged through the mud. Another commenter said, "I don't even know what a woman is." Nerve, especially among conservative supporters who saw this as yet another example of the show's hypocrisy when it comes to supporting women. But here's where it gets really interesting. Lee didn't just sit back and let the criticism roll in. No, she clapped back hard, using her platform to call out the double standards and hypocrisy of the legacy media in a fiery response. She pointed out that when she assumed a position of power, women like Joy Behar and Whoopi Goldberg, who professed to support women's empowerment, were the first to undermine her. To be honest, she has a point. How can you say that you support women breaking glass ceilings while minimizing one of the youngest White House press secretaries in history to her appearance?
Rich that The View is saying she got the job based on looks when DEI...
She didn't stop there either, as she directly responded to Whoopi's remarks regarding wokeness, claiming that the phrase has been exploited for identity politics instead of real progress. According to her, wokeness is about advancing an ideology that values labels over merit and isn't about uplifting women or minorities. I'm here to speak for all Americans, not just bold statements, yes, but that's the kind of energy Litt brought to the table, and it's obvious she won't be giving up anytime soon against those who fit into a particular narrative.
The White House doing a great job. Such a great job that the ladies of The View feel the green monster.
Litt's criticism of wokeness not only strained relations with The View's presenters, but it also sent shockwaves through social media, where the phrase has turned into a battleground for political and cultural arguments. Supporters of Al praised her courage and referred to her as a voice of reason in a society that they feel has gone too far in putting political correctness ahead of everyday wisdom. In response to criticism that she oversimplified the problem with one user, one reader responded, "We've been waiting for someone in the White House who isn't afraid to tell it like it is." Her assertion that wokeness is about development and inclusivity rather than whatever she's attempting to portray, the divide was evident, and her remarks simply served to widen the rifts in a debate that was already divisive in the country.
Just making headlines, she's also rewriting history. At 27, the New Hampshire native has become the youngest White House press secretary ever.
But let's not forget the real elephant in the room, the generational clash at play here. At just 27, Leavitt represents a new wave of political leadership, one that's not afraid to challenge the status quo and introduce fresh ideas. The conventional liberal viewpoints of the panelists, who have long dominated daytime television, stand in sharp contrast to the generational shift. It's not just a battle of ideologies, it's a battle of eras with Leavitt's unapologetic approach. Many people are wondering if this is the beginning of a wider generational reckoning in American politics and media, and if so, who will win as they clash with the more established and older voices of the media industry.
I was stunned and amazed by his new White House spokeswoman today. She's actually the young.
After all, Lee didn't just happen to land in the White House. Her background includes prominent positions in politics and communications. Her ability to maintain her composure amidst seasoned media personalities like Whoopi and Joy says something about her preparation and confidence, where she repeatedly demonstrated her ability to perform under pressure and produce outcomes, not to mention her audacious choice to allow independent media to attend White House press briefings, which many view as a direct challenge to the legacy outlets that have controlled the narrative for decades by providing a voice to media outlets other than traditional Leavitt is not just shaking up the press room, she's redefining who gets to tell the story. Whether you love her or hate her, it's impossible to deny that she's a force to be reckoned with.
Trump loyalist and unapologetic Gen Z conservative Leavitt's sharp rhetoric and bold social media presence.
Conservative media, on the other hand, thoroughly enjoyed this entire situation. Greg Gutfeld of Fox News couldn't help but criticize The View, making fun of their seeming incapacity to deal with someone like Leavitt, who loves to preach about women's empowerment, but he remarked that when a conservative woman succeeds, they go crazy, and isn't it the reality? People who applauded other women breaking down barriers suddenly appeared uneasy when someone who didn't fit their story was highlighted.
The media are now unloading all their nasty attacks on rising Trump White House star and new press secretary.
But the worst part is that this goes beyond Leavitt versus The View. At her first press briefing, Leavitt announced several significant measures aimed at keeping the press accountable, sparking a much broader discourse about the status of the media and its role in influencing public opinion. Revealed intentions to establish a new media seat in the briefing room, providing access to independent journalists, influencers, and podcasters who are sometimes marginalized by major outlets. As if that weren't enough, she also reinstated press permits for 440 journalists whose passes had been cancelled under Biden's. The legacy media, which has long benefited from its monopoly on White House access, didn't like the administration's talk of upending the status quo. Sunny Huston of The View even questioned whether these new media personalities would be eligible to attend briefings, suggesting that they lacked the journalistic qualifications that are often needed. But let's face it, qualifications haven't stopped certain legacy media outlets from disseminating false information in the past, have they? As one fan put it, cancel The View. I can't wait until they are off the air.
And so Joy Behar just offered her analysis on why Leavitt.
Speaking about disinformation, Leavitt didn't mince words when he criticized the media for perpetuating stories that have damaged public confidence for years. Legacy media outlets have dominated the discourse, stifled criticism, and influenced public perception. With minimal or no repercussions, her remarks, but those days are over, resonated with many Americans who have grown weary of what they perceive to be biased news. One viewer said, "She's young, but she's sharp. She's exactly what we need to hold the media accountable, but let's get back to the core of the drama The View and their ongoing conflict with Elle." Many are wondering if the show is still relevant, particularly as it continues to turn viewers off with its more partisan viewpoints. Critics claim that the hosts are more concerned with discrediting people who disagree with them than encouraging thoughtful conversations, and to be honest, the ratings speak for themselves. With alternative media on the increase, shows like The View are finding it difficult to hold the public's interest.
And I have had my objections to the job that Karine Jean-Pierre did, but she worked in politics for 21 years, 5 presidential campaigns.
What is next for Karoline Leavitt? Based on her first week as press secretary, it appears that she is staying put, since she has stated that her goal is to restore accountability and transparency to press room in the White House. They might want to reconsider their strategy if they hope to remain relevant in the quickly changing media world of today, even if it means upsetting some people along the way and for the sake of the view. How do you feel about Karoline Leavitt's audacious strategy? Are we seeing the end of legacy media's hegemony, or will shows like The View manage to adapt and remain competitive? What the White House needs exactly, or is her approach too dangerous? Comment below with your ideas, and as usual, keep checking back because this story is far from over.